Hi, so this is the second video of the spaghetti tower video, and this video is going to be going over how we're going to be making the spaghetti tower, or the basic steps, and I'll just give you what I would be doing if this was a live lesson, and the tips I would be showing you along the way. So, what you should have with you at the moment would be a packet of spaghetti, or any amount of spaghetti that you want to build with. There's no exact limit, but I think maybe 40 pieces, 40 strands would be enough to, safely build the remaining of the tower. And you would also have, let me get it out here, a box of tape, which I have not unboxed yet, but yeah. Then you got one box of tape and some spray. That's all you need. So let's first get this tape ready. So what you first want to do is you want to build your foundation, as I said before, and you could do this in many ways. So you could get one piece of spaghetti, not one, but you could get, let's say, a couple, and you want to measure them out to be the right lengths, because these all are pretty long, as you can see. And by building a tower this long, like a foundation this long, you're going to need a lot more spaghetti than just like 40 pieces. So I would say be ready to, let's say, cut them and crack them, and you could estimate on these. I think measuring would also be beneficial, but if you don't have a ruler next to you, I think eyeballing it wouldn't hurt that much. So we're gonna grab 4 pieces. You're gonna measure them out completely like so, or straighten them out, and then you're gonna try to find a middle point. So you would find that by just putting your finger in the middle and seeing if it's even on both sides. Not yet. There you go. And you would just snap the centers. And you can measure again, and they should be relative sizes as seen here. So you would get some of your tape, and this is just for the foundation. So we're not doing anything big just yet. And you would grab two ends of them, two ends of this 2 strands that you just broke. Grab a piece of tape and tape them together. Okay, now you could take this where you want. So right now we made 1/4, or it could be 1/3. Let's say you want to make a triangle. You can make a triangle here, connect those 2 pieces, tape them together. Or if you want to make a square foundation, so this is all in your creative freedom. You could go like so. You could add one here, add a couple here, and that could be your square, and then that would be on the very bottom of your foundation. I'm gonna go with the square because I think you'll be able to see a better picture of what it's gonna look like at the end. But if you want to do a triangle and you want to do a triangle foundation, go for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's actually more efficient, and you use less noodles. So I mean, if you want to build it higher without using as many noodles, that is also a good option. So now we have finished 2 halves, or 3 halves. No, we finished 3 out of 4. Sorry about that. And then we grab the remaining bits and we tape them together. Make sure they're even. There we go. Tape down, tape down. I messed that up. There we go. And now I got one last piece to tape together. And we would do so like this. So some people use this building as a creative, like a team collaboration, but I think it could also be used as, testing one individual's abilities and seeing how far they can build it. So this is one thing I wanted to cover in the first lesson, which I showed you, is how you see how I bend like this is putting pressure on these 2 joints right here. And that's not great, because whenever you have a foundation like this, let's say like something's pulling, it's gonna make it very easy for this to move. So what you can do is you can grab one fresh noodle, because all the ones that you measured right now aren't the right sizes, and you would place it in between the two, like so. And you see the excess of the extra bits that are pointing out, you just get that and pinch it off. Then now you have to retape. And as you can see, we now have something like this. I can tape the other side still, but after we do so, ta-da. And now whenever you push, you see how this is the bend downwards instead? And that's not that much of an issue at the moment, but we could also reinforce this side, but I think you get the idea. So now we're going to start building upwards. And there's a couple ways you could do it. So you have this foundation here, and you could grab a couple of your sticks and go straight upwards, like so. Or you could do it creatively, and you could bend them inwards like this, and then you could reinforce it. So let me show you rather than say it. I think this is the time to show you what I mean rather than show you. So you would put it right here, and you would tape it to the structural base that you have just created. And now that goes straight upwards. It's a little loose right now, but we could fix that later once we connect all the pieces together. Actually, let me make it stick just a bit better. Sorry about that. There we go. You see that? And then we could reinforce that by adding more beams that are cross diagonal here. And so let me get the rest of this. So it's more tape. Get that. And then make this other beam. There we go. Oh, this one fell off. Okay. I need to retape this one. But I could show you by showing you downwards that this is it so far. And I need just to tape the other end. And you could continue. And besides using just tape, you could also use hot glue, which would make it way easier to use. But I think just using tape would also be sufficient because there's not much that hot glue could use. And I think the downtime which uses hot glue would be, it wouldn't be the best. But I mean, it is a tool that you can use. And if you want, I think that would make your building last longer also. Because if you use tape, it's going to break after someone uses it. But with hot glue, it stays together for longer periods of time. But it is also more expensive and it takes more time to build. So now because we have built these two, sorry, that took a little bit longer than I had expected before, we could get another supporting beam like such and go upwards. So this is again taping the corners, making sure that they're all covered. And then getting more tape, taping the other ends. And ta-da! Now we have one side done. And this is going to take a while. This is a long experiment if you want to make it skillfully, but you could also put a time limit on yourself and see how high you can get in a certain amount of time. Because I think given enough time, you can make it higher and higher. But let's say you only have 30 minutes to make the remaining. Then you have to, make sure that you spend the right time measuring everything beforehand before you start. And I want to show you something else. You see how, once again, this square is really weak and how you can move it. And one thing you could do to fix that is to add another structural beam across, or you could add a vertical or horizontal. But I think adding a beam that goes diagonal would be the best in this case because it allows the building to say structurally sound like that. And then that would be another half. And I'm not going to go over the entire building process because I think that ruins the fun of, creating your own structure and having the creative ability to, investigate what the best methods are and test what I'm telling you in the previous videos and see if they actually are true and if it is best to use triangles instead of other shapes, or is it better to make two rectangles instead of two triangles. And testing that, it would be nice for you to see, because not only are you trusting my words, but you're also investigating for yourself, which is nice. So this tape isn't cooperating with me. Let me just put it on the table. Okay, so it should look something like this. And then you could build off the rest. You could build out the other edges, which I will do soon. And yeah, so then you could build it upwards and upwards and see what the best shape is for you. Right now I'm having some difficulty using tape as the best source. And I think using other shapes, so let's say, I finished that and I realized that using a square as the bottom is not the best shape. Then you could restart, not restart completely. I mean, it would be a waste of materials, but you could restart, and let's say you want to do a triangle. So you would start off with a triangle and build up from there. So let's say you start with a triangle. You would do the same thing on the sides, or you could do something different, which would be by building triangles upwards. That is also one way you could do this project. So like this. By doing something like this, then you could start out here, build another triangle on the sides, build it upwards as high as you can, and see, how far up you get. And I think that's the entire fun of the project, because, the creativity is given to you, and you could do whatever you want to do. You could replicate mine if you want to. You could even go off and start creating your own, because I think you don't really want to replicate mine as much, and rather see what you can build. Because I think that is what engineering is all about. Understanding what works, what doesn't, and testing your own theories and testing what you think would be the best. So this is going to be one side. You could build upwards, 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 all the way up. So yeah, just going to be building a little bit more with you guys. I think the triangle would be the easiest for most. But one thing to consider is that if you use different different sides of shapes, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to build upwards. But I don't think that's going to be a grave issue. You could do something like this. And be careful, because I've been breaking a lot of spaghetti along the way. And you don't want to use too much force, because then something like this will happen and you have to restart. But I think just that in the whole learning process of, testing and trial and error and building these shapes and building upwards is going to be the whole process. So yeah, I think that's that. Thank you for coming to the second lesson. And I think in the third lesson, I'm going to be covering the application and what it means in like the general sense for an engineer and what we see in, the real world. So yeah, thank you for coming. Thank